It's a real treat we have for you today. You're going to hear direct from Lokure, who's our program manager in Uganda. It hasn't been easy for Anne to join us, even with technology. The internet is not always very strong in Uganda, so we're probably going to be doing a Skype to mobile call, as Megan said. Also in Uganda, there is a new lockdown in place because of a spike in coronavirus infection rates. So Anne is going to be in the office on her own. There's no public transport, so she's had to walk to the office. There's also an increase in insecurity at the moment in the Karamoja region, so it's not safe for her to walk home after dark, and that's why we're doing this event at lunchtime today. So we're really grateful to Anne to overcoming all those barriers and coming to join us today. And I can't wait for you to hear from her. But just before we hand over for that, I just want to share a little bit more about Five Talents for those of you who are newer to our work. And first of all, I want to share with you that at the end of last year, we reached a milestone of working with more than 250,000 entrepreneurs over our 20-year history. That's 260,000 entrepreneurs and their families supported through Five Talents programs. We currently have programs in these 8 countries. What do those programs look like? The best way I can share that with you is by telling the story of one of our members, 2 of our members, in fact. These are Sonia and Peter, who come from Burundi. We travelled to Burundi in 2019. Of course, we've not been able to travel to any of our programs for the last couple of years. But Sonia's story is a fantastic illustration of how Five Talents works and some of the impacts. So Sonia is she's a woman from Burundi. Like many other women from Burundi, she never had the chance to go to school, and she was desperately keen to learn how to read and write. She'd never learned how to read and write. And then she heard that Five Talents and Mothers Union were partnering in Burundi to set up some literacy groups and some savings groups. And there was one going to be in her village. She was so excited. She rushed home and said to her husband, "I'm going to join this new literacy group and learn how to read and write." And he said, "No, I don't want you to do that. Your role is at home. There's no point for you to learn how to read and write and count. You don't need to do that." But she was so committed and so keen that she was going to learn how to read and write and count. She decided to join the group anyway, even when he said to her, "If you go out to this group, don't bother coming home again to our house." She spent a few nights staying with a neighbour because she was so committed that she wanted to learn how to read and write and count. And once she and the rest of the members in her group had learnt literacy and numeracy from the Five Talents and Mothers Union trainers, they also learnt how to save their money, how to save small amounts of money week by week in their own community-owned savings group. And when there was enough money in the pot and they'd all been through the business skills training, they started to make loans to one another to invest in small businesses. And again, Sonia said, "I want to take a loan. I want to start my own business." And her husband said, "No, I don't think you should do that. I've heard stories of people who take loans and these loan sharks come and they might confiscate the little plot of land that we have." He was afraid for her to take a loan. But by now she'd learned, she had a vision, she had a dream of her own future. And she said, "This is not like traditional loan shark groups. This is a community group. We're all in it together. We all support each other. I'm going to take this loan." So she took a loan and she set up a market stall and started selling vegetables in her village. And with the profit, she was able to buy new clothes for all the family. And over time, over 2 or 3 years, Peter began to really see the benefits of this group. And guess what? He has now joined as well. So now they both save their money together in the group. They've used their savings to invest in a cow, and that gives them not only milk, but also manure for the little plot of land they have, and they can sell the vegetables in the market stall. Peter has committed that he will use the income from his share of the business to pay for the school fees for their children. So that's just one story out of the 260,000 we could tell you to illustrate how our programme works. We have a graphic showing you our 7 steps that all of our savings groups follow. I'm not going to take our time now to go through it step by step, but it is in our impact report as well. So you should all have a copy of that. If you haven't, let us know. But all of our groups follow these 7 steps, and we have some great impact stats showing the results of our work as well. As you can see here, 71% of members can cope better with emergencies after joining one of our groups. 84% of women have more positive domestic relationships like Sonia and Peter. And 81% of members can spend more money on education, on food, on medicine. So really, really fantastic stats coming out of our work. Most of all, we rely on the hard work of our members, people like Sonia and Peter, Sonia in particular, who overcame so many barriers to set up her business. And we rely on the wonderful work of our community trainers working in all those 8 countries to spend long hours going out to communities to train and support the groups. And we want you to hear today from some of our community trainers in Karamoja in Uganda. Why is Five Talents working in Karamoja? These stats, I think, speak for themselves. Just 20% of women are literate in Karamoja. 61% of people live in extreme poverty as defined by the UN. And in terms of access to financial services, access to somewhere safe to save or access to a loan to set up a business, there is almost no banking infrastructure in Karamoja. The Finscope survey showed there were so few banked adults, they didn't even show up on the survey. So the Five Talents combination of literacy and numeracy skills, of access to financial services, enabling people to combat, to tackle the symptoms of poverty is going to be hugely, hugely empowering in Karamoja. We've been working there for 3 or 4 years now. We have 42 savings groups with over 2,000 members, over 600 people going through the literacy and numeracy programme. People have saved an average of £16 per member, and the average loan size is £50. So those are just a few stats for you to bring it all to life. First of all, we're going to hear from our 4 community trainers. We weren't able to get them all to connect via Zoom, so we asked them to pre-record little interviews, which we're going to share with you now. And then we will hand over to Hannah, who's going to interview Anne, all the way from Karamoja.
We have been using accumulated savings and credit association model that involves savings, learning, and training on business skills like wisdom in savings, planning better businesses, managing business money, record keeping, and resource mobilization. In connection to LNN, many have known how to read and write. Now they can read the Bible, passbooks, ledger books, and even medical cards for their children. And this has made the program so beautiful, and they are so grateful.
Actually, even to the community, this program has greatly impacted them in that they have gotten the knowledge and skills now on businesses, and some of them are displaying it actually. They're putting it into practice, and this is something rewarding to me as a trainer. Many have also been able to access loans from the group, use it for businesses, for paying fees for their children, and then meet the basic needs in their homes, and their lives have been improved. So this has been admired by many people, and they are now embracing the program and want to join seriously.
Spiritually, many of these trainings involve Bible reading, and because of that, many have been strengthened in their faith. Economically, businesses have been boosted because people get loans from their groups and put it into their businesses, and hence boosting their businesses. Politically, many members have become leaders in their various capacities, like in their families, their trust groups, like the signatories, and at the parish level in church. And this has helped them so much, and they're so grateful.
And the beauty about this Karamoja Community Development Trust program is that there is a unity in that there's no kind of discrimination, let's say maybe in terms of religion, be it a Catholic or a Muslim, so a born again, so it brings all those people together in one group. And then there is that aspect of shared resources, putting the money together and then learning from one pot is something that many have also admired, because even the poor is able to put the little and then learn from that. And then the other one is the shared responsibilities. You realize that these groups are being managed by the very members, the executives, who are even the members of the group still. So it's something that they feel is their own, because they're the very ones having control over it, over all those resources.
I would like to share 2 successful stories from the program. We appreciate the program. One is about Omedos Patrick, who transited from village savings to accumulated savings and credit associations. He accessed a loan from the group, and he opened a small business where he's able to sell cereals and small items. The community appreciates his services. He's able to send his children to school, pay medical bills, since he's the only one educated in the household. Secondly, I would like to share the successful story about our adult and literacy learner. Ilikol John Baptist is from Lokure, that's 12 kilometers away from town. He sells airtime and mobile money, linking the village to town. The community so much appreciates his services.
Besides all the achievements, we have experienced a few challenges, which include insecurity due to cattle restoring, seasonal changes, because now it is cultivation time. This fails people to attend meetings in time.
I have challenges as I do this work as a CBT. I have to travel longer distances to reach these communities, to reach these groups. Longer distances, I can assure you. Almost 80 to 90 kilometers. The difference that you have to cover from this group to the other. Sometimes it is really tough. The terrains alone, when it rains, sometimes you are cut off, you can't move. You know, the language alone, from English, translating it to the local language. You know, not all the communities here have gone to school. No, the literacy level here is 3%. I mean, the literacy levels here is just at 3%. Those that have gone to school, just 3%. So you can see the challenge.
Me as a trainer on business skills, this has greatly impacted me because currently I have gotten the confidence and courage to share with the rest of my community members the ideas and the knowledge and skills that I have. My social aspect has also been changed because every time I move to the field, I get to meet new people, share ideas with them and interact. And then the spiritual life has also been changed because even in these trainings, there is that aspect of Bible studies. So every time I train, there is always that Bible concept that we normally read.
Personally, it has changed my life because I used to understand business as something else. You know, for those who really are meant for business. But along the way, as I came into this project, I realized, no, business is the way to go. And because of the trainings, because of the skills that I was offered to offer to the community, I was challenged to start my own businesses. And now when I'm training, I give tangible examples from my own experience. This is so interesting. And that's what I love most as a CBT. I love to take the knowledge even to the lower community, those that can't afford to go for these trainings, you know, at higher levels. We need to offer them even at to reach them at wherever they are. This is very encouraging and I love it. I love to do it so much.
We are so grateful to 5 Talents for their extraordinary support. May God bless you all.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from our community trainers there in Karamoja. Karamoja is an absolutely vast diocese, as Anne will share with you shortly. So it's wonderful that we have these 4 trainers based in the different regions of the diocese so they can go and train and support the groups. I'm so glad you got to hear from them today. I'm going to hand over now to Hannah, who is our programme manager here in the UK. She has Anne, hopefully, on the end of a phone, and she's going to play her out loud on speakerphone so that you can all hear. We're going to have an interview with Anne, a structured interview lasting probably around 20 to 25 minutes. And then we'll have time for you to ask your questions. So please do, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat box. If you can select May, our colleague May, who's one of our co-hosts, if you can select her when you send the questions, she will then be able to pass them on to Hannah and to Anne. If we don't get around to your questions today, please do drop us a line and we will try and catch up with you later on. But please do ask as many questions as you like to May in the chat box. This reminds me, so you've met Megan, you've met me, and you're about to meet Hannah. You'll be sending your questions to May. We also have Chris and Charlie in the team. We don't want to take up too much time introducing them on Zoom because that would get messy, but really looking forward to our in-person events in the future when you can meet all of the team face to face. But for now, let me hand over to Hannah and to Anne. Thank you, Hannah.
Great, thank you, Rachel, and welcome everyone, and welcome Anne. It's great that you're able to be with us today.
Thank you, Hannah. I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. On behalf of Karamoja Diocese and on my own behalf, And for the people of Karamoja whom the project has touched their lives, I would like to thank Five Talents UK for giving us this platform, an opportunity to interact with our esteemed supporters of Karamoja Community Development Trust. I am Anne Lokure, the Program Manager for KCDT, that is Karamoja Community Development Trust. I have the honor to thank the supporters of Karamoja Community Development Trust because of their generosity, and through their support, we are able to reach out men and women across Karamoja region, from Pokot far south of Karamoja to Moroto in the central.
Thank you.
Just a bit.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
It's great, and that you're able to join us today, and thank you. I know that it is challenging. I know we were hoping you would be able to join via Zoom and we could see your face and you would be able to see all of the people on this call. There's about 30 or so people with us now listening, so I'm sure that they also would greet you if we were able to speak properly. But thank you for introducing yourself and the programme. We've had a short introduction from Rachel earlier about the programme, and we've just had the video of the community-based trainers, the CBTs, sharing a bit about the work. Lots of people who are on the call today may never have been to Karamoja or even Uganda. I'm wondering if you might be able to share a bit about what Karamoja is like, to give an idea to somebody who hasn't been.
Thank you, Hannah, once again. I know Hannah, Rachel, and Megan have had an opportunity to visit Karamoja, and they have the idea of how Karamoja looks like and they should have interacted with the people of Karamoja. But on behalf of those who have not seen Karamoja, allow me to give a brief background of Karamoja in terms of location, socioeconomic livelihood, language, and culture. Karamoja is a sub-region. It's a semi-arid land located in the northern eastern part of Uganda. It is constituted by 9 administrative districts: Amudat, Moroto, Nakapiripirit, Nabilatuk, Napak, Kotido, Kabong, Karenga, and Abim, of which Karamoja Development Trust works only with 5 districts, which are served under Karamoja Diocese. Other 4 districts are served under Northern Karamoja Diocese. The socioeconomic livelihoods of the people of Karamoja surrounds the cow, is actually around the cow, so that makes them pastoralists. But of recent, a few people have adopted crop production, but on smaller scale, carried out along the green belts of the districts, but on subsistence scale. The region has 2 seasons in a year, the wet and dry season, and it is a rain-fed agriculture. Besides, a small population has diversified their livelihoods to business skills, that is sale of clothes, sale of livestock, cereals, and retail shops. And also we are endowed with minerals and mobile and stones. And these stones are carried or quarried at the foot of the mountain. So most of the people take this as one of activity, as alternative activities. Karamoja is the lowest in human indices, especially in development, low education, poor health, poor nutrition. And all these factors have forced Karamoja, some of the Karamojans to be cattle rustlers, because there is no any other way they can survive, and sometimes they resort to cattle rustling as an alternative. Karamoja literacy rate is at 12% for male and 6% for female. So they are really still strong in terms of the culture, especially the girl child, who is taken as somebody who is supposed to stay home to do lots of work. They don't have an opportunity to go to school. So our culture is still strong, and we have one language, which is the main language, dialect, Karamoja, but we have Pokot in the Pokot land, and also we have Lebtur in Abim land. So that characterizes the Karamojans. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much for giving all of that detail. It's really helpful for us sitting here we were hearing some people are in London, some people are in Cornwall, even one person from Sydney in Australia. So it really helps to paint a picture of the context. So thank you. I was wondering, perhaps to begin, if you might be able to share a story of a member or a group which you've heard recently, perhaps to give a picture of what the work on the ground looks like and the kind of impact that the program is having.
Thank you so much. We have a lot on the ground, but for the sake of time, I would like to share a story of Angelina Ochieng. Angelina Ochieng is a 20-year-old girl. Of course, for us, since they have not gone to school, they get married early. She has about 2 kids. When the program started in 2017, she joined the savings component, that is accumulated savings and credit association. She was a member there. But in 2018, when adult literacy came in, she also enrolled as one of the learners. And later on, Ochieng, because of being in the group, was able to attain a shop out of the money borrowed from the group. She was able. She brought now services to their community to be able to sell produce and also a few of the retail items in our shop. Ochieng has now taken our child to school because she's able to pay school fees and also have a uniform for our child. And because of this money borrowed from the group, she has diversified our business to now sell of livestock. Ochieng is one of the persons who has benefited from adult literacy and numeracy. She is now supporting the community in record keeping, first of all at group level, and also she has transferred this knowledge to our household where she's able to record the sales from our shop. She's able to count our livestock at the end of the day. Ochieng is also a very influential person in the community now because she was able to be voted as a healthy committee member, the chairperson health committee. And recently when we had volunteer selection, she was able to be identified by the community as a volunteer in their village. So Ochieng, as a result of adult literacy and numeracy, is now able to support the community in terms of reading the Bible on Sunday. She takes the lessons on Sunday and she supports people to understand the Word of God. So she's really a very important person in the community. And besides that, I also have Lotte. Lotte Abraham is now one of the persons who is actually leading services in Lokure, which is one of the area distant from town. And when the rural pastor is not there, Abraham takes on the roles of the pastor, most especially leading service and being able to share the Word of God with the community. So as a result of the work, Ochieng has also transformed his life from a grass-thatched house where he used to sleep, is now sleeping in a iron-roofed house. Of course, those are the advantages. And Ochieng has also, Abraham has taken his 6 children to school and is able to pay them out of the money from his shop, because when he borrows the money from the group, he puts them to the shop to improve or increase his income. And he has now diversified his shop to at least sell of livestock. And every Monday, he takes his livestock to sell at the market here in Moroto. And also, he takes across to Napak district. Thank you so much. There are a lot of success stories there, but because of time, allow me to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for sharing the stories. I think earlier Rachel was introducing some of the statistics from the program, but it's really helpful to hear more about what that means at an individual level. And I think also the story of Angelina really shows the impact of some of this beyond just the business growth and beyond just the literacy. The fact that she's now a leader in her community is also a really significant outcome and something really to celebrate. So thank you so much for sharing those with us.
You're welcome.
During our conversations recently, I know one of the things that you've been excited about is that some groups have formed on their own. They've seen perhaps the work that the program has been doing, the staff have been doing, and they've decided that they also want to have their own group. And so they've modeled their own groups on what the program is already doing. I think you've called this organic growth. And I was wondering if you might be able to share a bit more about this and perhaps where it's happened and what inspired these communities to begin their own groups.
Thank you so much, Hannah. First of all, I want to give credit to the staff of KCDT, Community Development Trust, for their committed efforts and also for really encouraging the community to come up to do this work of savings and credit. Besides, I want to thank the communities of Karamoja for their willingness to take on the program, because it is one thing to introduce the program and it is one thing for the program to be appreciated by the community. So through their success stories, other community members have adopted the savings and credit model, and they appreciate this. Besides, they have gone ahead to form their own groups, and many groups have been formed across the 4 zones of the project. Besides that, we have groups. For example, we have Amudat Resilience Group, we have Salat Group, Alakas Church of Uganda, Amudat Elders Association, Chanan. We have MOPA. We also have Osana and Mothers Union and Fathers Union here in Moroto. This is all as a result of the good work that have been appreciated by the community. And of course, many people are getting excited because of the model. One, because it is a new model which has come in the area, and it is all about accumulating resources together for a long period of time. Because anytime the member wants to borrow, the money is there for the members to borrow. And also the aspect of safety of the cash. For example, we encourage all our group members to open bank accounts where they save their money and be able to withdraw at the agreed time when they want. And then, of course, the long period of the loan. In the Village and Saving Association, the loan is only taken for 3 months and is returned. But for the Accumulated Savings and Credit Association, it takes about 6 months to 1 year, where members can at least benefit or get profits from the loan. And besides that, there is social cohesion among these groups because we share the word of God. There is a fellowship, there is counseling, apart from just saving. A member who doesn't have money at that period of time is able to come to the group and get other ideas from other members and also be encouraged. There are also training components within this group where members benefit. We train them in wisdom in saving. We train them in resource mobilization, record keeping, and using the Bible approach, where we study the Bible and share with them the word of God. Thank you so much. Hannah, to you back.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. One of the questions that was actually asked now was about scalability. How scalable is the program? How can we grow it? And I think your answer there really captures part of that answer, which is that the groups are supported through all that Anne has just described to be able to run their own groups effectively. And earlier when Anne was giving the story of Angelina, she mentioned that she is now a volunteer supporting her group. Anne, I'm wondering if you might be able to share a little bit more in relation to that specifically. So perhaps in terms of how you see the program becoming more growing and also becoming more sustainable, perhaps particularly touching on the volunteers and the work that you've been doing with that recently.
Okay, thank you so much. I am happy to share about the future of the program, because this is just not a project to end. Despite the fact that there will be enough support from Five Talents UK, we are here to stay. The program is here to stay to benefit the Karamojong. So far, we believe that this program has come to empower the people. And we look at the program as a whole because it has brought together about 2,572 direct beneficiaries of the program, of whom 75 are women and 30% are youth. So we believe this program is just not stopping any day from now, but it will go for years to come. And we know that as years go by, we shall see that people have been empowered economically, and people will be evangelized, because we use the Bible as an entry point, and also we use the church structures as an entry point. And we believe these groups will continue being sustained by the volunteers. Recently, we had to recruit the volunteers to continue on with the program. And these volunteers were drawn from the groups and selected by the groups themselves. And we are actually building the capacity of these volunteers to be able to continue with the program and sustain the program, even as the community-based trainers leave the program soon. And also, besides, we have the clergy whom we have been training throughout the program phase, and we believe this clergy will take on the program as years come. And we know that as time comes, education levels of the Karamojongs will be improved, because that is one way of carving out the cattle rustling, which is now prevalent in the area. As many people become educated, they will be engaged in other social activities, economic activities, and they will leave the issues of thuggery. So that's why we have embedded the component of adult literacy and numeracy to entice the parents so that they are able to take their children to school. And at the end of the day, these children will learn and be able to change the society. Of course, we are also diversifying the livelihoods of the Karamojongs as we bring in an aspect of business skills. And we believe that as people take on the business themselves, they would now commercialize agriculture, they will now commercialize even the livestock, pastoralism that is going on, and to not just be subsistence. And people will thrive, and people will also become resilient to many shocks that they may come. Like, for example, the group members are now benefiting from their savings. This is a period where there is lockdown. Instead of people having nothing, they have resorted back to the savings and be able to support their households out of their savings. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. And just to build on what Anne said there in terms of, I suppose, the future plans for growing the program, the volunteers which Anne mentioned there have been trained in an approach which we've used in other countries, particularly in our partnership with the Mothers Union in Burundi. So we've identified training needs in the groups in Karamoja, and the groups themselves have identified these volunteers who have been trained in facilitation skills and particular approaches in order to support the groups going forward. So instead of the program staff offering the training, at this point in the program, we're switching to it being offered by people from the community itself, with a particular focus on group cohesion, conflict management, but also looking at how the group can discuss, analyze, and create action plans for challenges that the group faced, even things outside of the group. So it's an approach that we found to be really useful elsewhere. And as Anne mentioned, it touches on some Bible studies, and those studies are really given as examples from the Bible, but they're given as stories initially. So they're approachable for anybody, whatever their faith background. And then they discuss what they see in the story, and then there are questions about what can we learn from this in our own lives. So that's a bit more in terms of what we're hoping to do in the future, and also through these volunteers expanding what we're offering in terms of literacy and numeracy. The idea behind that is to increase their participation, particularly amongst those groups who are more marginalized in society in Karamoja. So thank you, Anne, for all of that. You mentioned just towards the end of your previous question there about COVID, and I think many people on the call are also very familiar with the challenges that it brings in their contexts. But I know that COVID, of course, has been a challenge in the last year in Karamoja, but there are also many other challenges. Rachel touched briefly, and you have as well, on the challenge of insecurity. There have also been challenges with droughts and locusts. I'm wondering if you might be able to share a bit about how these challenges have affected the programme and how the programme has responded to these.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Definitely, in life, there are always challenges, and with these challenges, there is always a way to come out of those challenges. Of course, we are all aware about COVID-19, which has paralyzed the whole world, the whole world's economy, and even the people here in Karamoja have been affected by COVID-19. First of all, it has weakened our efforts, especially moving out to the field, because of now limitations of crossing to other districts. We are now locked down to only the districts where we are located. Besides, our community members are not able to do their daily economic activities because some activities have been paralyzed. For example, those who have been selling livestock at the livestock market, the livestock markets are no longer there. And those who have been dealing with the second-hand clothes, no more business for them. And then, of course, very many other businesses have been locked off because of this lockdown or the government instructions. Of course, when the economic part of it is paralyzed, meaning our program is also affected in one way or the other because the members are not able to save. They have limitations in income. Ways of making income have been hampered. So members are just staying at home and there are no ways of getting money to save. They are only looking at survival strategies now. Whoever has reserves now using it for survival of the household. Besides, we have the insecurity which has also affected our region here, the cattle rustling. Of course, when there is cattle rustling, people lose their property, people even lose lives. So in most cases, you find our members also are attacked in one way or the other. Of course, being part of the community, they could have lost relatives out of this insecurity, and also the road thuggeries. There are a lot of road surgeries along some roads, but of course, government is trying their efforts to disarm the Karamojong and also put measures. And also, besides that, we also have long drought, which has affected our crops. For example, this year we expected a lot of rain, but since mid-April, we have not got rain up to now, meaning our people will face challenges of food insecurity. And also when there is food insecurity, little is saved and most people will have nothing for food. And besides that, that will also affect our savings or the savings in the members. So that's how this affects our program and also affects the livelihood of the people. And also even the staff themselves are affected because when they cross to long distances to access groups, they are not able because of insecurity, the fear of their lives. So those are the challenges that have hampered our work here in Karamoja. But of course, there are always solutions to everything. And we know government will also come in to disarm these other Karamojongs. And also we know COVID-19 will also be defeated one day and everything will normalize. And we know that our groups will thrive and people will be empowered. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we're all hoping and praying that day comes very quickly. I suppose just to add to that, the program in Karamoja and indeed all of the programs that we work with in the past just over a year have, in addition to what they normally do, done a lot of work on training on COVID, what it is, how it spreads, how to prevent it, all of this kind of thing. This was in response to sometimes, as in many contexts, false information being spread, and also making sure that people had that awareness in order to protect themselves. So that's also been a key focus in the last year and something which the team that Anne manages have been able to offer as well. Excellent.
Yeah.
And there's a few questions from the audience. So the first one is, you shared earlier that the program, the vast majority of members of the program are women. And that's something that we've specifically sought to focus on, particularly women and also younger people in Karamoja. So the question is, how is the program reaching men as well? And do you find that more men join the program as the program goes on and becomes more successful?
Yeah, definitely. There's no way you can separate the women and the men. Always in every program, there are women and there are men. Although at this particular time, we have targeted more of the women because we have about 75% of women, so the rest are men. That means the men are also part of the group because they are the ones, for example, at the family level, they are the ones controlling the finances. And definitely when the money is saved, men are also encouraged to join the groups and they encourage their wives to save. So the money which is saved at the house, at group level is for the entire household. So the men are part and parcel of the savings groups. And also in the adult literacy and numeracy, definitely there are men there. First of all, the instructors, some of them are men, and also the learners. Most of them are men, although definitely sometimes you find men are taken up with some other activities outside, like taking care of livestock and moving to marketplaces. You find most of them are not in the classes when there is adult literacy and numeracy. But of course, they are also catered. This program is non-denominational. It is actually catering everyone in the entire family. For example, even the children, if, for example, a child is 18 years old, she or he is able to join the group without discrimination. So gender is scattered at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's a really important point as well. And certainly our experience elsewhere has been that opening the program to men actually is really important in terms of women being able to join the group and that process being transparent, where groups have decided that men shouldn't join. Sometimes we find that there is resistance from men. They are suspicious of what's going on and it becomes harder for the group to function. So although sometimes there's thinking that maybe having women's own groups is useful, and in some contexts it can be, we often find that actually where there are mixed gender groups, often that's actually really valuable for the women in terms of getting support from the men present for what they're doing. And just perhaps finally, because we're beginning to get towards the end of our time together, you mentioned just now about younger people joining. And this is, again, one of the specific focuses we have in Karamoja on youth. So one of the questions we have is, what is the average age of members within the programme? I'm wondering if, as well as that, you might be able to share a little bit more about the specific challenges that youth face in Karamoja and how the programme seeks to support them.
Thank you, Hannah. I mentioned that in our programming we have about we cater all the categories of people, including the youth, people living with HIV/AIDS, people with disability, and in the program we have about 30% of the youth, both in adult literacy and also in the savings and credit groups. And of course, there are many challenges that our youth in Karamoja face. First of all, they are not educated. That means they are unemployed. And most of them started their livelihood at a early age where they are herders. And for girls, they start working domestic work at home. So when they grow up, they don't fit anywhere because, for example, the parents are also not giving them opportunity to own resources. So at this level, they feel vulnerable, and sometimes they feel isolated. So when we bring them to the program, we also empower them through the savings, we empower them through skills, and from the skills, they get up now and start their own businesses. For example, there are members of, the youth who have come up starting their own businesses. You heard me talking of Amudat Resilience, Youth Resilience Group. These are the youth who have come together to save, and they have started small business for themselves, to support themselves and also be able to employ, it's a source of employment for some of them. And of course, you realize that in resource sharing at household level, most of the female youth are not given opportunity because they look at the son as the heir. So the ladies, when they come to this group, they are able to have at least their own savings, which they know it is their money, and they use it for starting their small businesses. So the program is diverse and the program caters everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. And so in Karamoja, we've defined youth as anybody under 30, which is good news for me. And that's about 40% or so of the membership. So it's quite a lot of young people who are involved in the program. And as Anne's just mentioned, that's a really important aspect of what we do. And they are often people who miss out on other initiatives going on, and who the opportunity to borrow and begin a business is particularly important to young people. So Anne, I think we've come to the end of our time together, and it's such a shame that you can't see all of these faces, and I'm sure if we were together they would be thanking you for all that you've shared. So from me, a huge thank you for giving up your time to speak to us today, and for sharing so generously about the programme and all that's been going on. Please pass our greetings to the rest of the team, and once again, a huge thank you from all of us.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and greet everybody. Thank you, our partners all over the UK. Thank you for your support. May God bless you, and may the Lord keep you from this COVID. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, continue praying for us so that we also come out of this COVID.
We will do. We will do.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Anne. And over to Rachel. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Hannah. And gosh, what a huge thanks we owe to Anne. It's been a wonderful, if brief, tour around Karamoja and her sharing of the real life context of the programme, how it looks, and also the challenges that she faced. It's such a privilege for us to hear directly from Anne. We're really grateful to her for sharing. I think also alongside the challenges, what I take from it is the huge sense of optimism. As she said, there are challenges, but there are also solutions. And the stories she shared of Angelina, for example, and the young people who are joining the programme, people finding the way to find solutions to their own problems with the support of the community trainers, but communities coming together to share their resources, to save their funds together, to set up businesses together, to share their challenges together and to come up with solutions together. It's massively empowering and encouraging. So thank you to all of you for supporting the work, and a huge thanks to our community trainers and to Anne for joining us to share about the work. We have 2 minutes left. One of the things we have to do on Zoom is keep good time. It's not like our in-person events when you can all linger for a chat and a drink. Those days will come again. But just briefly wrapping up, people often ask what they can do to help support the work of Five Talents. And there are 3 things here: give, pray, and tell, as we often say. So give, of course, financial support is always welcome. We're seeing a huge increase in demand for our work right now. As Anne shared, people have really needed their savings during the lockdowns, and now they really need access to loans so that they can kickstart their businesses again. And they really need the supportive community group so that they can have that mutual support in times of need. So your gifts will help us reach new communities. So please do make a donation if you're able to. And if you already support us financially, a huge thank you to you. Pray if you're a person of faith. Of course, we know that not everybody is, just as our savings groups are open to people of all faith and none, so our supporters are people of all faith and none, but many of you are Christians, so if you are, please do pray for our work. And then tell, please do tell others about our work. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, tell others about it, share the impact report with them, share the website link which you have there, even share the recording of this event with them and invite them to come to another event too. Our events will be, our events programme is on the website. You can also find the donate page on the website and lots of other contact information as well. So any more questions that you have, please do drop us a line. Otherwise, let me wrap up with a huge thank you to all of you for attending and for all of your support for Five Talents, and again to Anne and the team in Karamoja. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.